Hey there. So in this first video, I just want to explain a little bit about what animation layers are and hopefully show you a little bit of how powerful they can be. So I have my best animation I've ever done for my project here. We've got a box moving up and down in Y and moving left to right in X. So for this project, this is what I've been asked to do, and I submit it to the client, and they come back saying this is absolutely brilliant, but we've had another discussion, and actually we want the box to finish up high at the end instead of staying on the ground plane. So we come into our graph editor, and we've got our Y position keyframes here, and so we begin changing our animation to try and address that feedback. So this takes a little while, especially if you've got something more complicated than a bouncing box. If this is a character and the client's asked for a different thing on a walk cycle, then this is going to take some time. So we spend all that time adjusting, and then the client says, well, actually this is great, but it's got to stay along the floor first, and then towards the end it needs to move up. So we've already made those changes, so we have to come back to our original animation and then do it again, and it's really hard to compare how the changes you make compared to that original or the last version. So this is where animation layers come in, because let's just reload that scene. So with animation layers, we can make all these adjustments very quickly, but we can keep the original animation untouched. So we can try things out, we can edit and manipulate the animation path without ever destroying our original animation. So let's come back to our box that we're submitting. This is our first iteration that we've submitted to the client, and they say, hey, we want the animation to finish up high. So with animation layers, this is easy. We've got a base layer, which is our base animation, but we want to create an offset. So we'll create a layer. We'll just call this up, and so we've still got our animation there. We select our base layer. You can see our original keyframes are there. Select our up layer, and you can see our clean timeline. So if I come to the end, all I have to do is raise this up, and without touching the graph editor, we've made that change that the client wants. So we submit this, and then the client says, oh, actually what we need is the animation to move up towards the end. So what we can do here is, let's say we will keyframe that at 100, and then in fact we'll keyframe that at 0, and that one at 0. Okay, so it means I've got original animation till this point, and then we make another key at the end, 100%. So you can see that influence of our animation layer doesn't start till frame 60, and then it starts to raise up. So you can see there, that's a real easy change with animation layers, and we've still got our original here. We can flip between them, A/B between them, so we can see the difference, and it makes making these changes really easy. We don't have to go in faffing about in the graph editor, moving keys around. We can just literally control things from here. So what else can we do? Let's create another layer, And let's just key this in place here. So let's say we want to kind of squeeze that. So if we move this in X here, we can actually just really adjust how that animation path is working. You know, we can really manipulate that. So let's say we want it over here like this, and we've got our weight control here as well. It also goes into minus values there, you can see. So this is just really quick, and you know, it's a lovely way of adjusting your animation. So let's try something else. Let's say we're going back to our original animation here. Okay, so let's say we've got a different client, we're on the same project, but maybe we've got a new director, and they say, right, I want you to go back to how it used to be, but I want you to fade this bouncing in. So how would we do that? Well, with animation layers, that easy. I've created this new feature yesterday, and this is based off some of the Maya animation layers behavior. So what we can do, we can actually extract animation into a new layer. So I click extract. This is something the Maya doesn't do. This is an addition I've made. We can actually select which channels are going to move to that new layer. So I actually only want to adjust the Y value. So I can extract that animation. We've got the keys here on our new timeline. If I turn this off, you can see actually that base layer has no change in Y at all. You can see down here the Y value doesn't change. So that Y animation has been extracted onto this new layer, and we can adjust how much that's been influenced. So we can, you know, really control individual channels. You know, a ball is bouncing too high, so we need to reduce it. We just, you know, there we go. And we can merge that down into our base layer, or we can even, you know, we can keyframe this. So let's make 2 keyframes there, and then one in the middle. You know, we can just completely manipulate that. Or if we just want our original animation, just remove that envelope and then merge that back down, and then we're back to where we were with our original.